From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Hello.
It looks exactly
Hello.
as if we were watching with a corpse.
Oh, there you are. I was afraid for a moment that you had forgotten our appointment.
Good evening. This is Sergeant X. They say that ghosts and the like just don't exist.
You remember me, don't you? I'm your host on behalf of the makers of Carter's Pills. And you're to be my guest tonight in the mysterious circle of the inner sanctum.
Unless you think more of a large fat fee than you do of your life, I advise you to throw up the case at once.
Apparently, we don't look at this in the same light, Mr. Dalrymple. I expect danger, and I'm prepared to meet it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to... Thank you. Welcome to Man Alone After Dark, the only solo role-playing talk show in the history of existence ever. I'm your host, Man Alone, and on today's show... let's just say this is the kind of show that if death is a singular moment that stretches on for a forever present, you're going to want that forever present to be spent right here, learning about the variety of games and also a bunch of other discussions that will tingle your mind grapes. But before we begin anything, we're going to start with a voicemail from a friend of the channel, SEAL Team Waffle Alpha member H. Vandessa, who I would like to thank you for this awesome voicemail. And as I promised last week, a prize for the two top voicemails. So you are one of them, and I will give you first dibs. That cut out abruptly. I'll give you first dibs. Substratum Protocol, or if you don't live in the U.S. or North America, a gift card to drive through RPG. But I have an alternate offer as well, and we'll listen to the message. I'll say what I have to say, and then you tell me. For those of you who would like to call in, I recommend you do it right now because I think I enjoy giving out prizes and treats as much as I like getting them. I cannot give a prize out for everybody that leaves a voicemail. But those who I play on the channel, if I really like them, I put together 10 like secret fun surprise prize packages so that I can keep giving folks different stuff. For instance, this is a package I like to call a creepy walk in the woods. We have Carved by the Garden, Sleepy Hollow, and then they all have a theme. So like that one's a creepy walk in the woods, and then this one is like all the stuff that's that color, sort of. So again, you know, it depends how magnanimous I'm feeling. But as far as the contest from last week, there'll be another voicemail as well. Let's listen to it. But I hope that some of you right now have paused just to leave a voicemail at 856-818-3904. It could be about solo play. It could be about tabletop gaming in general. It could be about stories, fiction, your third divorce, you put a pat of butter on your forehead today just to see if that made you feel any more alive, whatever it is. Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is H. Vandessa. I have two questions for you. So I like to journal my games, but I do not like journaling games, and I think you're the same way, but I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing. So, like, for example, I like to play Ironsworn Starforged, which I don't consider that a journaling game, but I journal it. But journaling games tend, I think, to just be like something where they don't have like spark tables or things like that. They just ask you these questions like, you're in a field, what do you see? Or how does it make you feel? Or things like that, which I just don't think really spark any kind of inspiration at all to start writing. So I was just wondering if when you say journaling games, that's what you're talking about. Because I like a game like Ironsworn Starforged, I tend to use it regardless of what game I'm playing. So I will play Morkborg, but yeah, I will use the Starforged rules. I will play Across 1,000 Dead Worlds, and I will still use my Starforged rules to play it. And I'm kind of wondering, am I missing out on something here? Because I know when you play things or when you're checking things out, you'll say, well, I'm hoping there's a solo mechanic in there, or you'll be disappointed if they haven't included a solo mechanic. And I'm curious as to, well, you've played so many solo games, why do you even need them to provide you a new solo mechanic? So am I missing out on something by not just playing the different solo mechanics that are offered? And I think that's it. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so 2 awesome questions, and I just want to take on the first one first so I don't forget it. Well, I think this might be the second one, but are you missing out on anything by not using other systems? I mean, I think that you can probably infer the answer to that without knowing anything about solo gaming. So I'll give you the obvious answer first, which is like, it depends on what sort of experiences you enjoy and what you're looking for, and also what your frustration tolerance and enjoyment of novel experiences is. So if you're a person who likes new things just to try new things, then you have a lower risk of feeling disappointed or like you wasted your time. But fundamentally, I kind of interpret this question as, I really like pepperoni on my pizza. I've always gotten pepperoni on my pizza. People say I should get something else on it, but I eat it with pepperoni all the time, and no matter where I go, I order pepperoni pizza, and I'm always satisfied, and I always enjoy myself. And should I try sausage? Should I try meat lovers? Well, maybe not. You know, like there's one way you can look at this is to say, you have a system for solo play that you enjoy, and you use it, and you play a variety of games with it, and you play a variety of games successfully. So you are like ahead of the curve, because there are many people who want to solo play, but they cannot generate that momentum. They have a hard time moving across that threshold. But you have, and just so everyone is clear that we're on the same page here, we're probably talking about is it called just the action roll? And you basically have 3 action roll outcomes in it's actually the Powered by the Apocalypse system from Apocalypse World, but a lot of people do call it Iron Sworn Starforged in the solo community, because that's most of what their experiences of this comes from. And basically this system, if you're not aware, is like you're rolling against a challenge number or challenge die, and you have these action rolls, and you can, you're adding stats to them when appropriate and stuff. But the basic premise is you have this number, say it's 8, and you have to equal or exceed 8. You roll 2 dice. If both of them are equal to or greater than 8, then you've succeeded. You've resoundingly succeeded in whatever action you were attempting. If one of them meets or beats and the other one does not, you have a weak hit. All right, you succeed, but there's a cost, a complication, a stipulation, a yes but, a drawback. Maybe you're trying to jump across a chasm, and maybe you reached the other side, but you barely did. You had to pull yourself up, and while you were doing that, you bruised your ribs, -1 HP, or maybe you have an injury condition, depending on the game, for a little while. And then if you fail both, you miss both, that's a failure, and you do not succeed at your action. And so this system is used a lot in solo play because it just works. And there are people who like it, and people who love it, and people who don't like it. I'm not many people that hate it, because it's worthy of having respect on its name, because it's a damn good system. So I want to just say before I forget that, in case you were not aware, H. Van Dessa, you very well might be, and so please, I hope this is not patronizing, but you said you like to use it for Merc Borg. Well, one of the if the most, if not one of the most prominent solo supplements for Merkborg is solitary defilement. And solitary defilement not only uses the strong hit, weak hit, fail system, it actually, acknowledges Ironsworn and Sean Tompkins and, or here, Sean Tompkinson, which I only point that out because after reading that some years ago, I also said Sean Tompkinson a lot. But yeah, so this is, those basic mechanics, but you're also getting additional stuff that is specific to Merkborg. You're getting oracles that have locations from Merkborg, that have flavor from Merkborg. You are getting a system or cycle of play. You're getting micro crawls. This is like your daily traveling routine. And you're also applying some of the rules, or shall we say the systems, specifically like the progress, what is this called? The progress bar or the progress track to, mark how far you are along on whatever sort of arc or goal you have. Well, now with this, you're going to have to factor in like the calendar of Necrubel. So not only are you working to fulfill some iron vow or something, but you're also pre-gaming the apocalypse, so to speak. So anyways, I just wanted to say, and of course, you just let me know. Email me, I'm analone@proton.me. But if you'd like, you may... I'm willing to send you my copy of Solitary Defilement that has given me so very much enjoyment, because if that's something that you like, this might be a good way to sort of step halfway, like use a system you're familiar with, but branch out to something that might be half of another system. But that all said, the second part, I think, zeroes in even more on what I'm trying to put down right now, which is that I always laugh when I look at a core rule book for the first time, because I think of something that was very, very common at a certain time in my life. And if any of you are a little chubby, I was kind of chubby in middle school and high school. I was pretty chubby. I was chub. I would go... So I'm just saying, if any of you are chub or been chub, or you're planning on, 2026 is your year of the chub, whatever it is, this may remind... I don't think I must not be the only one who did this, but I would go to Kohl's or some other big box clothing department store. I would see a shirt or a pair of pants that I liked, and I would quickly go to that pile, and I would take the whole pile and I'd lift it and look at the bottom one, because I was like, I wanted to see if there was an XL or if there was, whatever size waist it was. And then if there wasn't, I'd be like, damn it, there's nothing for me. And I always think of this when I get a new core game, because I do the same thing. I go to the back and I'm like, is there solo supplement? I'll go in the index, or if I have a PDF, I'll do Control F solo. Why do I do that? That is a great question. And it's a fundamental question. And the fact that I haven't answered it, or have not answered it lately, or have not been articulating it, I'm very glad that you pointed that out, because it's important. And I do think that there is, at least for me, an answer for that. And I hope that sharing this answer could be illuminating in more ways than one. Okay, so the first reason why I like that games have a proprietary... Is that the right use of that word? Let me look it up, because I know that proprietary means like if Apple makes something that only works with Apple products, but what I've been using it to say like something custom made for the system itself, and I am going to look it up and see if I'm using it right. all right, I think I'll dump that usage of it. So, Bespoke. How's that? A bespoke solo system. I think there's four reasons for it. Okay. Number one is that it means they care. You like me. You really like. It means that they care. They've made an investment in solo play. And maybe it's a bit of a leap to say they've made an investment in the solo players community. After all, there is more than just for solo players that play solo. Some people play solo because they have a new toy and they want to play with it. Some people are waiting for their next group play session. Some people cannot find a group to play with. They don't like playing it online. Some people, I think this is a great use for solo, even if you're not interested in it as a hobby. I think it's a great way to learn the rules of a game, because a lot of times reading just doesn't do it. You have to play with the ideas and put the rules through a bunch of different circumstances to see, do you really understand what's going on? So it just acknowledges that. I mean, the fact that Free League, has a section on their website that lists solo games, and if you're from Free League, you should put, just a reminder, put Electric State and Alien Evolved RPG on there. That they're putting sections of their core books that are their big flagship products, they're putting a solo section in there. I think that that's fantastic, and I also think that it helps us to further expand the form. It gives us new ideas, especially when you have incredible, talented people working on them and being allowed to play with the ideas from the core book and working within those bounds. For example, we have the Alien RPG Evolved, or Alien Evolved edition of Alien from Free League. This is the second beta of the core rules. And the solo rules are created by familiar name Sean Tompkin, who did Ironsworn, Starforge, Sundered Isles, Lodestar re-release, I think, just recently, as well as the rules for the solo rules for Dragonbane, Alone in Deepfall Breach. And so this is, Matt Click is his son, but I think this is the rumor I heard, is that it's kind of like Abaddon and Horus in Warhammer 40k. Like Abaddon says it's Horus's son, but some people think it's like a clone. I've heard that Matt Click is like a bioengineered clone who was like made into the perfect solo role-playing writer. Just a rumor, I don't know. I do know it's not true, but I don't know if it is true. You know what I mean? And so this Last Survivor, I think we should take a look at it as, there we go, as an exemplar of the very things that I think are important about these bespoke solo play supplements. But before I even begin, I was about to create my own list, and then I did a little research, and I found an interview with Sean Tompkin, and the person doing the interview asked him a question that pretty much lays out perfectly the points that I want to flesh out through Last Survivor here. So this is interview with Sean by Duncan Thompson. Okay. And so the question is, what are the challenges of creating solo rules for someone else's RPG? Sean Tompkin. Firstly, understanding and internalizing game systems is always challenging. For me, think about that. One of the greatest solo designers of the game right now, as well as one of the greatest solo gaming YouTube creators, we both have challenges understanding and internalizing. And I've always said that, like, I will read a rule set and I can repeat it to you, but I don't fully get it before I play. I don't install it. It's one of the reasons I like making my own games. So A big part of creating solo rules for someone else's system is understanding what makes it tick. What's the flow of play? What are the procedures? I love this. It's like you are a mechanic who has to completely disassemble and reassemble an engine before you can add a new part. I'll just keep going instead of, because I really want to editorialize this, but we'll break it out. There are lots of considerations for making solo play work. Does the setting support it? If not, what's our narrative hook that makes it viable? Do we need additional guidelines to improve the survivability of a lone character? How can we add procedures that motivate play and story? What sort of generators and tables are necessary to fill the role of a GM and answer the questions that naturally occur at the table? In short, there's lots to it. And I know that you could have read that. I'm sorry to do like the PowerPoint presentation thing, but I know that some people just listen to this. So yeah, so this is a perfect capture of every point I want to make about Last Survivor. Because I think in addition to the sort of fluffy notion of, these make us, this means that these publishing companies care, the more brass tacks reasons that I think it's important is because they are bespoke, customized to the rule set, to the narrative, and that means there are bigger opportunities for balance, okay? And that all of the little bits, the little details are specifically crafted for Alien RPG. And you may not think that there is a lot of importance to that. You might think, oh, that sounds like, something that's nice but not necessary. But this is look, if all I wanted to do on this channel was explain how to solo play different games, I could make 300 videos by tomorrow, because every single one of them would be, in fact, I'll make one of them right now for you. Here you go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Man Alone. Love Blades in the Dark, but want to play it solo? Well, stay tuned for the video. Here's the video. Use that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our sponsor, Dice Nest and Noble Knight Games. That's it. That would be the entire video. Probably be 6 ads. And by the way, I get a comment about ads sometimes. I don't control it. Okay? I don't control it. And I certainly don't pick the ads. I do say that they can't do ads on gambling, alcohol, or politics. But other than that, sorry. I'm sorry. Get YouTube Premium. It's one of the best investments you could make. I've had it for like 9 years. Okay. Sorry. We're not talking about Blades in the Dark. The thing about Mythic is that it is an amazing system. Tana Pigeon created something that does work for almost every game that has emergent play. And the Mythic GM emulator, besides the thing that gets talked about the most, which is like the Fate Chaos system, it also has, honestly, this I use more often than the Fate Chaos system, is the tables in the back that are these meaning tables. They are so good. Look at that. Incredible. And it goes on and on. So, but the reason that I don't do that is because even though that's good, that is, especially if you're somebody who just wants to get going with solo play, I like it when there is the system made from it, reverse engineered, because then it brings out a je ne sais quoi. And actually, we will sais quoi. Those tables, as numerous as the inputs, as robust and diverse as the options that come from it, those tables are not crafted based on the Alien universe, right? You probably have sci-fi stuff, but is Alien just sci-fi? Yeah, maybe it is just sci-fi, but like it's also Alien. And there's something that makes that special, that makes it different from The Expanse, right? And so when something is made for it, it's made for it. So, okay, the first thing that shows up right on the first page here is balance. If a solo supplement is made for a specific game, it has a higher chance of being balanced because the creator is basing it off of the stat, equipment, bestiary setups of that game. There's potentially play testing or at least like different considerations made by the author. And you see that right away in Last Survivor because from the top, it says in instructions for creating your survivor, it talks about talents. And if you've ever played a Year Zero game, you have these talents that will help you to perform certain tasks. Well, many games have, skill system. And then it lists, here are the ideal talents for a solo player, and here are the ones to avoid, either because they're not going to be very advantageous, or you could have something better, or the very mechanic of it doesn't work in solo play. Then you also get an extra talent, because it says your odds of survival as a solo character are low. To create a solo character with better survivability, choose an extra general talent. Now, again, you could say, well, I could just add an extra talent, right? But that's for this game that you add an extra talent. Some solo games you wouldn't. Some solo games you'd add 2 or 3. Some solo games you'd use a different system completely, right? Right. So there's the gambits in this, which are sort of like the skills or talents. And it says many of the gambits in the full game won't apply to your playthrough of The Wanderer. Here's a new list of gambits better suited to solo play. Choose one. And so it makes new gambits, right? And that's something as well, is like some games will say, don't even use the ones that we had. They don't work. That is, in a lot of games, there are mechanics that are specifically oriented toward group play or toward like things that are ontologically impossible in solo play, such as, with this talent, this was in Blades. We played some Blades today with some of the SEAL team, and one of the talents, I don't know, was it Morihei or Big Mac and Fries, not Big Mac and Friss. I always see it as Big Mac and Friss. Had like one of the skills or whatever in Blades in the Dark is like you can ask if something's true, which I agreed with Caven, the GM. It's like that is such a difficult thing for a GM, because somebody had that in Mutineer Zero as well. It's like you can ask the GM one question and they have to tell you the answer or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's very powerful. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, that's sort of either impossible or pointless to say, oh, I'm solo playing, I'll now ask myself a question that I have to answer. Well, I can do that at any time in solo play, right? So in Dragonbane, there are 2 additional talents. So you get 2 talents. One of them could be the talent or skill, I forgot what it is, associated with your character role, and then, or kin, and maybe one to your occupation as well. I got to play Dragonbane again. But also, you can choose one from Lone Survivor. Is it Lone Survivor? Army of One, and yeah, I think it's Lone Survivor. Either way, what they do is one of them allows you to like push a roll once without consequences, and then another one allows you to take 2 initiative during combat so that you can fight twice, because without that, you would just get demolished. And if you've played Dragonbane solo, often with that, you get demolished anyways, because that is a very, very deadly game and part of why I love it. And then also the leveling system, Solo XP Rewards, is shifted to keep the solo player up to pace with the increasing difficulty or the having to persistently survive and all of the difficulties that come with that. There's also, in some games, we'll say, hey, in solo play, you are on your own. And then other games, Substratum Protocol, which we're going to take a look at after this, gives you the option. You can play alone. You can play as a team. You can role play as your whole team. Those are considerations that I appreciate having at least the input of a designer to say, you know what, all things being equal, I weighed everything out, and this is how you should play that game. When there is a choice made by the game designer, that's significant. That feels significant. That has gravity to it, and it is one of the ways that we do what we do in its purest form, which is a conversation with the author, right? And so if you think about it like that, every time I use Mythic, that's a conversation with Tana Pigeon, which is a nice in any interviews you see with Tana Pigeon. It's always a very nice conversation, but it's a generalized conversation, whereas this is a specific conversation. Okay. Now, this the bespoke nature of this shows up in hooks and mission starters, right? But the real way that it manifests is, number one, in its emphasis, what it chooses to emphasize or zero in on, as well as the oracle tools, okay? Now, the mother analysis and answer matrices are something that have me, like, pumped about Alien Evolved, because these are so cool, and even the design of these, the way that you sort of flow through them, both in the aesthetic, the graphic of it, but also the way that you move through these, it mimics like a computer interface from Alien, where you have this like black screen, green text. And you're typing, and it's like, okay, this menu, okay, I made this choice, now a new menu, a sub menu, a box pops up. And that's how it feels to move through the MAM that is going to make not only Alien look like Alien, but feel like Alien, is stress. And Alien, stress is not something specific to this game. It's in Mothership. It's in other games as well, the stress dice mechanic. And I really like what Year Zero does with it, which is like you're adding these dice, which you are in fight or flight. And so you have extra opportunities to have peak performance. So by adding these dice, you're getting new dice that you could roll a 6 on and succeed. But these dice also have negative outcomes now, with like rolling a 1 is a somewhere between a poor and a catastrophic outcome. Okay, so why is this important? Well, it's important because if we are playing a solo or using a solo system that is a one-size-fits-all, we can probably recreate some of the stress in the form of anticipation, etc. The Mythic GME, you could use the Fate and Chaos system, right? It that actually might work well to do increasing levels of dysfunction and complexity. But there is, again, something specific about Alien, right? And I think the game that captured it the best was actually a video game. If you've ever heard of Alien Isolation, in this game you play Ripley's, I think it's her daughter, and it's you and a xenomorph on a space station. That's just something happened. I can't remember the plot. But what was amazing about this was that in addition to the choices you as the player character made in the game, it also tapped into your microphone. And so when you would make a sound, the xenomorph could hear it. So you'd have to sit completely still. And, if you sneezed or somebody walked in, all of a sudden the xenomorph would shriek, okay? And so there's something about the stress of the Alien franchise that is, again, singular. It is what makes the Alien franchise what it is. And it's not optional, because stress that we crave it's the same reason that we crave any sort of very strong emotion through art or media, is because it gives us a chance to complete the feeling. Okay. This is for Mothership. I just love it. I got it from Etsy. But you have essentially your health and your stress occupying two halves of the total picture of your character's survival, their wellness. And so it is half of that picture. And, if you think about what sort of emotion is compelling when you see it on screen, it is not the unhinged expression of that strong emotion. If you just saw a video of someone crying, you would likely react to it somewhere between neutral and annoyed. However, when you see somebody stopping themselves from crying, when you see a single parent with the kids climbing all over their back in their cart in a grocery store, and they're just trying to finish, and they don't even know if they have enough to pay, and then they accidentally bump into somebody, and this other person turns around and says, "How about you and your kids watch where you're going, you idiot?" And this woman realizes that she can't even mount a defense because it will just take up too much time, and she has to get to her next job. And so all you see is her bottom lip quivering. You, through your empathy, will complete the emotion for her. You will finish the emotion. Whereas it stresses the same thing. Think about any movie that you see somebody enduring stress, how stressed you feel. Whereas when you see somebody unhinged in the face of stress, somebody who's supposed to be keeping it together, especially somebody who's like a warrior archetype, soldier archetype, healer archetype, and instead of keeping it together, they are unwound, drawing resources from others around them to keep them calm. You don't feel stressed for them. You want to slap them in the face. You feel annoyed by them. And so now we say, well, if we're going to play this solo and we don't have a well thought out stress mechanic, then can we really call this a solo module for this game that's worth its weight? Or can we just say would we just say this is something that kind of smells like Alien? It's like in the ballpark. And I think, again, as we look through this and we see the different ways that Sean and Matt crafted all of these mechanics to include the mother analysis and answer matrices that rises as your danger level rises, the severity of the events increases all the way up to a D66 with a danger level above 16. You encounter the queen, right? The big bad. You have opportunity events. You have this response matrix that is binary. It helps you figure out, yes, strong, no, strong, yes, whatever. Shows you how to do complex responses and gives you a complex response matrix that all involves Alien, right? There is something to be said for an oracle here. It has all the right words. And again, you could use a sci-fi oracle, but I don't know what your chances are of getting the words isolate, quarantine, organism, outbreak. These are things that maybe you will, or maybe you'll get quasar and star system and flying saucer, right? And then the section matrix completes the picture of this, which is like cryo sleep, infirmary, corporate suites, for Wayland Yutani. Salvage environment, anomalous environment. Yeah, like, dude, I mean, come on, this is so perfect because this is great right here. Like, this is Alien. 32 dripping ichor, 21 chitinous surfaces, but then also 54 ornate carvings, 62 rotting matter, and 64 strange altar. Yeah, there's only a few franchises that you're going to see all of those things. Okay, so the stress response here and the panic responses are so critical, and the system is woven from the rotting matter of the core book, from not only the content but the mechanics. It's all bespoke. D6 plus stress level minus resolve. How elegant is that? How freaking elegant is that? Right? You roll a D6, there's some randomness involved. It's augmented by your level of stress, but it is mitigated by your character's resolve. Okay? Then we have these 3 timers: danger timer, survivor timer, objective timer, and this is not the normal types of oracles, even ones that might be named similarly, because again, something about Alien that is unique to Alien is that you don't stand a freaking chance, right? And so when we're talking about enemy behavior, this is not something that's like a Nintendo game where it's like, okay, either you can jump and shoot, or you can try to tank it, or you can hide behind a tree. No, like this is basically like, do you want to die by being eaten or having your body ripped in half? And so the encounter sequencing and the stealth mechanics, the sneaking around, the working on an economy of choices based on from a spectrum from like run for your damn life and scream on one end, right? So you get some speed there, you get some sort of like a Hail Mary pass, and on the other end is slowly tiptoe moving from cover to cover, trying not to make sounds, trying not to have the floor creak, etc. You're gaining better hiding, but you're there for longer. This is captured in this, okay? And so, to review because this is, are you kidding me? See, I cannot manage time in videos. All right. Okay, so, right. Number 1 means they care. Number 2, higher chance of having balanced mechanics, balanced stats. Number 3, the mechanics are bespoke. The content is bespoke. This means there was an envisioning in terms of what sort of experience they wanted the players to have. The reverse engineering of the core book allows the mechanics to remain the same when possible, or be augmented when needed, or even replaced, and done so while maintaining the original spirit of what the core game mechanic was. Content, what are the oracles? What words and phrases are we going to be using to directly input into our game, or to add and synergize and alchemize, etc. And then the fourth one is just, and I think I've pretty much made this case, I hope, but it's just the rhyming between these, the rhyming between the mechanics and the content, making sure that, and this is really, what is important on any tabletop game, is when the mechanics and the content hum, like they work in tandem. And it's almost like the mechanics are a symbolic representation of the content, the themes. And in terms of, I think that the fate table in Mythic is a great example of this. That's a great system, and it applies to almost anything. And it probably would be okay with this. However, it's also kind of what makes Alien special. As you look at the pacing of those movies, the thing that is stressful about them is that it does not follow, for the most part, with some exception, the normative patterns of ramping chaos. And in fact, at times you really do feel as though the humans don't have a chance. They're doomed. And then you are met not with horror, but with silence, which is its own sort of horror, until you finally kind of start thinking, well, maybe not, maybe they will. And then they turn around and that's it. Right. So this is all to say that this is why I flipped to the back of the book. Do they always stick the landing? No. And very often it could just be like lip service, which again, as long as it's earnest and it's meaningful and it's genuine and there's an actual like will to be inviting to solo play and accommodating, that's fine. I would say my limit for that is if a game is advertised to have solo play options and then you look at those and you're like, nah, I think you just put this to trick me. And I can't think of a specific game like that right now, but I know I've had that experience in a very sour way. So if I think of that, I'll let you know. But let's move on. Hey, everybody, we're going to get to Substratum Protocol, but I just wanted to do a quick little teaser on the Bleakness. And it's truly a teaser because I have been very, very slowly going through this book. It is not a solo game. It's by Exalted Funeral. It has an extremely interesting, bleak world building. And I find a lot of the ideas presented in here fascinating. I think that it is a horror game that is rare in that it actually holds potential for horror to happen. I feel that a lot of modern horror games are like horror by fiat, meaning, hey, this is scary because I'm telling you it's scary and therefore it's scary. But let me just say this. Some of the illustrations in this book, I'm not even exaggerating. I think I would have this video like demonetized if I showed them. There is, how to say it in YouTube censor talk. It's a lot of these images feature body organs that are supposed to stay inside the body and they keep coming out. So anyways, the entire construction of this game, it takes place on a road per the rules, not of the game, but of the actual religious order, that these holy priests that walk up and down this road, they cannot travel south. So I guess they just walk up the road. And I just thought it was an interesting sort of how do I want to say this? Like, we usually wish to avoid any sense of railroading players, but I thought it's an interesting reimagining of that, or response to that, to say, well, not only are you being railroaded, you can't even go backwards on this train. And despite that, it is not a game that appears to be sequential. It has lots and lots of tables, and it approaches to the point where there are some times where I was like, this game was born to be a solo game. I'm going to show one of the tables sideways, and I'm going to show it sideways because I just want you to look at the enormity of it without reading it. Because again, I think one of the challenges I'm having conceptualizing how to play this on the channel is like, it's one of those games that I feel that you can only play it for the first time once. You could play it again, but you can't unring a bell. And so I'm going to put it sideways just to show you the enormity of this table. This is the traveler table of people you meet on the road. And this is like page 1 of that. And then here and here. And it has 2 columns for like if it's you encounter a weary traveler or there's some sort of horror aspect to it. And the descriptions are unbelievable. Each encounter is so built out. And yet somehow, even despite all the information, it leaves room to infuse the GM's own ideas into this character. And so there's foraging mechanics. There's traveling, healing. What were the other ones? I'm gonna just open the table of contents here really quick. So, yeah, combat, very strange. It's just like there's no player character sheets. Although I think they did make one, and it's not available on the website, and people have been asking for it, but I think the link is dead. So if anyone from Exalted Funeral sees this, please, I would love to see the character sheet, which I know it's well. So there's hunger and despair, which actually there are parts of the lore and everything. If you've ever played a brutal game called Fear and Hunger, it reminded me of that. There's a despair mechanic. And then there are certain parts that are just like, business as usual in RPGs. There's encounters, there's shifts, combat, damage, death. But then there's like entropies and portents and butterflies, and those are all like phenomena that happen in the game. But there's tons of item charts and counter scripts, and there's an entire I guess it's not really an adventure, it's a set of ruins. Oh geez, I can't show anything. But that have really well articulated encounters. Okay. This one's good. Yeah. So, and so it does have this delving mechanic, but it's just so different. Now, the only thing the primary thing that makes me feel like I cannot solo this game is it has the one solo anathema. And the solo anathema is, information incongruence between the GM or the referee and the players. And this game takes it so far as to make it so that the players cannot share who they are with each other. I will say this is one mechanic as a GM that when a game has anything like this, it does make me a bit worried because it does have a higher chance of leading to conflict or a feeling that other people are acting in obstructionist or non-collaborative ways, but like it's just that their character has this thing that stops them from doing it. And then there is also it does also have one thing that I feel is risky and fraught with instructions, in that it asks the GM or the referee to create a feeling, a vibe, and it's really hard to ask people to do that. And I worry that the success or failure of a campaign of this game comes down to the success or failure of the referee at creating that feeling. I think it's better to focus on telling people like their tasks and assignments and having them put those together the best that they can. But this game is pretty emphatic about like creating a terrifying situation. It's very hard. And the playthroughs right now, I think there's one of S. Kelty, which is author playthroughs. We were just talking about them when we were playing Blades. Was one of the best playthroughs of Blades is with John Harper, the author. And so that's great because you could see like the ideal version of it, but it's also tough because it's like was this the way it was because that's the game, or is it because this author is able to like fill in everything along the way? And the other one's in Italian. And so it was hard, be like, not because I can understand Italian. I grew up with Italian, but it's, when somebody is doing the Italian sound of, è possibile per lei parlare come, it just sounds, okay, I'm done. Anyways, here's what I'm thinking, and I have no idea why I think this. It's like some sort of intuition is telling me this. I don't think I can solo play this on camera, and also I don't think I could solo play it. I think what I would do is I would play the game by reading the book, and I would explore the options, and I would see what story starts to develop. And then what I would do is I would present it not as a playthrough, but I would like to do like a radio play of my experience with this. Now, one thing I hate, I know people like that when I do like intros with voices and rain and stuff in the back. I have a hard enough time like when I have to edit the like stuff just to put letters up on the screen to refer to something. And so when I've done that in the past, I've been really proud of the outcome, but it's very time consuming. So I don't know if I'd go like full, aluminum sheets to mimic thunder and stuff, but maybe I could just do like a sort of script read or something like that. Anyways, I don't know, but I wanted to just show people that because it's very fascinating. I'm going to page through to just give you one image that I can show to send you on your way to the substratum. All right, as much as I wanted to rickroll you there, this one, I just think even this tiny little picture in the map, we don't even ignore this side of the page. Like, look at what's in the center of this dungeon. It's just like, it truly is the sparseness, the bleakness of this that does create such an amazing ambiance. All right, quick palette cleanser. I've not listened to this one yet, so I'm taking a chance, but let's see if this is the other winner.
Hey, Man Alone. This is Zach from Ohio. Just wanted to... sorry, got distracted by my dog. Hold on. I might need to call you back.
Okay. I'll let you know, Zach, about the prize. You don't need to call me. I'll get in touch if need be. Okay, moving right along. I don't want to slow things down again, but I did just get a delivery from. Did anyone think about the Mr. Rogers mailman? Am I making this up, or was his name Mr. McFeely? I guess I'm glad I never put that. I'm glad I didn't put that together. But yeah, I did get a big haul today. This one is by Cody Barr, who did Wanderer. Also, Cody Barr has like lots of games with Wander in the title, so that he's a wandering soul. But this one looks really cool. Glide. I like the map making system. It looks a bit like Dune adjacent, and it looks like it has a nice play loop. Desert explorations, camping, equipment upgrades, and it also came with an expansion. And by the way, these ones, like, I will get my if I make sales on DriveThruRPG, it'll send money to me, and I can like cash it out. And a lot of times, I just use it as credit to pick up games that are in print. Caranethus has a quick start rules now, which I don't know why that makes sense and makes me want to go do it again, but it does, because I feel like I just need a little bit less to chew on to get into the game. Because last time I started playing Caranethus, I got into it big time, but it takes a little bit to rev. This is old school sandbox and mega dungeon for levels 4 through 7. Woohoo, look at that. All right, I'm going to check something really quick. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this False Temple is written by, it says, the Aerologist Post, and I was like, isn't that a Substack? And it is. I know that some of you were talking about on the Discord tabletop gaming Substacks, and so this one is like up to date. This right here is June 6th, posted by Jay. So Azorinian Post, Azoriyyn. Oh, I'll just show you the damn thing. That's like Azora High. Remember that plot line. And then this one as well, this is Brian Larkin. I believe this domains, but G. Freechin Willikers, does this thing look like it has a lot of stuff in it? Domain rules, the domain turn, warfare, advanced adventuring, simple psionics. Jeez. Well, anyways, I'll check those out soon enough. All right, so for some tunage for this, just got a new album from Cryocrypt with their very consistent packaging here, and this one is Mountain Realm. It's a collaboration between Mountain Realm and, this might sound familiar to some of you, Tales Under the Oak. So a little project called Tribal Alliance. Tales Under the Oak is who scored, I guess, Dolmenwood. So I'm actually going to try to play this in my cassette player and see what kind of like horrific sound it picks up. My cassette player is a General Electric cassette player from like 1984, and it is the best sounding cassette player ever. I've tried newer ones. They're nothing compared to this. So yeah, let's just give it a shot. If it's no good, it's no good. Well, I will tell you what, the cassette actually sounded amazing. It was like picking it up at the perfect volume, but in order to get it there, I had to play it quite loud. So it was like I was sort of yelling over it. I guess that's the one advantage of playing it from Bandcamp here, is that I can change the volume that I listen to it. You could have done without everything I just said, couldn't you? Anyways, let's enjoy the music and the game. So, Substratum Protocol is a combination of hints and hijinks, which is a system from Pandion Games, a investigation system, Firelights, and Breathless. So these are 3 systems that all have system reference documents. And I guess it'd probably be, if you're not familiar with any of them, especially, I think, let me try to boil this down into its most concentrated dosing here. So Breathless is a system in which your skills degrade 1 step die every time you roll them. Okay, and so what this actually does, it's not just like a meta narrative. Well, I guess it is meta narrative. It's not just like a game mechanic as you would like a board game mechanic. It's supposed to represent exertion, effort, persistence, time, right? And it's harder to keep performing at peak levels. And so you have a starting or a max skill level for each of your skills that are represented by like a dice notation. So in this game, make, break, dash, evade, think, sway. And when you want to do any of the actions that are allowable in this game, which we'll go over in a second, confront, convince, for example, you roll 2 of the skills. One of the skills is required by the action, another one you combine based on what you're trying to do. And you try to like choose 2 skills that represent an intersection of what the task is. An example of this would be like if you find a map and you're trying to find like any secret passageways, say, that's something I could imagine someone doing. I was going to say like finding the fastest route, but that's not really something we would roll on in a tabletop game. But say you're like, I want to see if there's any secret passageways or if I can try to deduce whether there's maybe I can go through the sewer system or something. Well, you would be thinking, right? Because you are thinking. But then for the second skill, you might then do dash, right? Because dash is run, jump, flee. So that might be like thinking of travel, okay? But there is arguments to be made for others too, like evade includes hide. And so maybe it's like you're looking for nooks and crannies. Maybe make is like traps, right? So maybe you're thinking about different hidden passageways and trying to avoid traps or anything like that. Sometimes this works really well. Sometimes it works okay. And sometimes you just kind of have to choose a second skill. But you always want to try to make it make sense. All right? So that's breathless. And the thing that, like, the breathless part of it is that when your skills degrade enough to, usually it's the lowest level of D4, you could set it to D2, but that's pretty severe. When they degrade, you could keep going, but eventually you want to take a breath. And when you take a breath, all of your skills refill. So it was a little confusing the first time I heard it. It's like, why wouldn't I just take a breath all the time? Every time you take a breath, the GM is going to introduce a new complication. Something that is working against you, whether that's an enemy or maybe like if there's some sort of faction that you're working against, they're getting stronger or closer to reaching a goal before you are. And that's part of the action economy that has to be maintained in Breathless, is like, how far can I push this without taking a breath? And if I push it too far, then I'm going to fail a lot of rolls and suffer consequences anyways. All right. Then you have Firelights. Okay. Firelights, I like how it plays into this game. I haven't used it outside of this game, but essentially it's a playing card deck resolution. And essentially, for every risky action, you're also going to be drawing cards that you have to beat. And you have an opportunity to then like add those cards to your inventory, and you can use those cards specifically in Substratum Protocol. You can use them for your exosuit, has lots of abilities. And so sometimes those abilities can directly deal with those cards or use them as sort of fuel. Or so let's see here. Does it list it on here? Oh, I think actually on the all right, so repair and heal. Discard 2 cards, clear 1 stress, or repair an item to its max die. And then, yeah, so sometimes it's discard, sometimes it's lay down a card versus mission control, which is like the GM. And so there's and of course sensor deployment, which is, you know, GM's favorite question here. Lay down a card versus mission control. Mission control asks a question and your answer becomes canon. So I like that. I think it works well. You'd think that running like those two systems simultaneously would lead to some trouble, but I think it works well. Hints and hijinks is, you know, for me, everything is sort of a valiant attempt at mystery, given that it may or may not be mathematically impossible or based on like non-quantum physics to run a perfect solo mystery at some point. And really, I guess this is the question, is like, how far along do you transmute it into a dice roll? If you're able to keep it as a mystery for long enough without turning it over to just like a dice effect, I think it does a pretty good job. And what I mean by that is like, the way that Hints and Hijinks handles a mystery is that you're going to gather clues, you're going to interpret them with actions, like depending on the game, this one would be understand, and then you assemble a last hypothesis based on that. And it's not pre-written, so you're sort of, you know, acting, I guess, as though you're discovering something that's true, but you're actually constructing it as you're discovering it. And then you will have an opportunity. This is just how it goes in the SRD. How it plays out in this might be a little different, but you will have clues and different sort of anything that would consider, it's usually clues, but things that would get you closer to having more certainty about the final hypothesis. And you would then step up your dice for each of those. And, if you have the max amount of clues and preparation stuff, you roll with a D20 and you do some sort of skill check where you're trying to roll over. Therefore, like, having a D20 to roll is more likely that you're going to solve the case. And so I'm not sure if I explained that right about transmuting to a dice roll, but what I mean is that, again, I feel like I've talked about this a lot in this video, but you can't know something in solo that you don't know unless you don't know it at all, in which case you cannot use it in gameplay. All right, so I think an example I've been thinking about a lot because it's such a cool idea to me, but at the same time it's no matter which way I figure it, it's impossible, is in the Alien RPG, I was like, it would be cool to deal a card at the beginning of the game and you don't know what the card is, right? And it just stays face down until like a given interval. And then, halfway through or at the end of the game, you flip it over, and if it's diamonds, that means you're an android. Okay, I wasn't an android. But here's the problem with that. So say that this is the solution. Say, like, at the beginning of the game, and for some of you this is fairly obvious, but it was something that if you're newer to the idea of this, it might just be good to see it. So say you had you're doing some mystery game, and you're like, all right, so I have this table here, it tells me what the mystery is. There it is. I can't wait, because at the end of the game I'm going to guess and I'm going to see if that mystery is correct. Well, the problem is that how would you go about figuring it out? You're like, well, I would just try to gather clues from the deck, and it's like, but the deck doesn't know what's right here. You don't know what's right there. This is anything, right? It's technically Schrodinger's cat right now. It is literally any of 55 cards, because I think the rule card is in there. And so you can't, either you can use the solution, but then you can't keep it a secret, or you can keep it a secret and then you can't use it. All right. But one of these days we'll break the sound barrier. Hell with it. We'll just scream until reality does what we want. There is a way to figure this out, or at least a way to do it sufficiently with sufficient finesse that it feels like we did it. I think that's what we're going for. All right. So those are the overviews of those systems, and you probably can tell that to play this game you need polyhedral dice and a 52 card deck. We'll also need some very beauteous dice. I wish we could. These are the prismatic from Dice Nest, which I got. I'm not doing an ad right now. I'm just so sorry, but please just, how is this real? Does it have some, was it blessed? Do I have its power now? I don't know if we'll be able to see those quite well, so we'll use the Starlit Azure here. And we'll probably need more than this, right? Because, we say we start at a D10 and then we step them down, and we'll have two that are D8, etc. So just to keep track of things, step down the highest rolled die after a skill check, and on a tie you choose which die you're going to roll down. So there's two ways to solo play. They give you a little bit of an option. And I'm of two minds on this. I kind of want to think through pros and cons here. On one hand, You can rustle up your scientist. Obviously, this is Professor Jorma. And and then I can go ahead and make a team of scientists with me, or there's rules also now for just like quick play, which at first, quick solo play, which when I first read that, I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want the full experience. And then some months ago, I watched the video by Daniel on Dungeon Dive, and was just talking about that it was hard to know when to move from one area to another. But there is in this folio here like a simplified solo where you just have a standard character and not a team. But I think we will at least try to see what it's like to make a team. I did make some NPCs any which way that we can just sort of I made them like character-wise, but didn't give them any stats or anything because they were sort of system neutral, and I think we could plug those in, and if we don't need them, we save them for another game. But a couple of other things. So we know about choosing 2 skills, then we draw 2 cards, and we roll the skills dice and compare the sum to each card. So if we have 2 skills, one of them is a D8 and a D6, you roll both of those and you compare the sum of that to each card. If the sum's equal to or greater than the card, you beat it and collect it. The more cards you beat, the better the outcome in that moment and going forward, because cards are like energy, mana, maybe it would be better. You step it down, and then you and your exosuit's health gain anomaly influence as your stress increases. Mark stress to improve skill checks. So we have this stress track, and there's this anomaly that we talked about that's some sort of strange, maybe arcane, maybe etheric, maybe eldritch, maybe supra scientific power, exhibits stress on us, and it affects us, and so it increases stress, and that is going to increase capabilities, but as is likely the case, it's also going to, well, you take a wild guess. You think it's good if someone said, hey, we're gonna in order to help you with your Orange Theory sit-up test today, we're gonna have an anomaly that we found at the center of the Earth exhibit its alien powers on you. We know about taking a breath. Overclock, that's like pushing. Use a D12 in place of a skill die, but risk marking stress. And then there's a storage unit. Can carry 3 items, and the storage unit can be used in place of skills, which is kind of fun. We could look up the exosuit abilities as we need them. And as we gain stress, the anomaly influence works in different ways. So at 0 to 2 stress, no effects, but at 3 to 4, we get -1 to skill checks, and changes a complication detail once per deep breath, which is like sort of standard. And then at 5 to 7, -1 to skill checks, and change an aspect of a fundamental property once per deep breath. So that starts to shift reality around, right? And then at 8+, deep breath only increases skills by 1 step. Skills can be reduced to D0. Auto succeed, understand action, always collect all cards. So that kind of makes sense, right? Like your brain is fried, but you're also like seeing through time, and 3 dimensions. 3 dimensions is for kindergartners. And then we'll do the last hypothesis at the end, which, I think there's a significant amount of play that this game has in store to do a full playthrough. But I at least want to boot it up and see what that looks like. So this folio that you can download, I don't know if it was free or $1 on Pantheon Games. I'll put the link below. This has just about everything that you're seeing right now. This deserves to be looked at in color because it's just a great example of how beautifully illustrated this whole book is. And there's these also, as you go further down the sectors, they have different properties, different qualities to them. And so it's just some changes, rule adjustments for solo. We get to assign a D12, D10, D8 to 3 of the skills on the team folio, and the rest are D6, so it's a little bit more than what others start with. So if we're, well, let me go ahead and build this up, and then just so we can save a little bit of time. All right, I'm just gonna pop in when I read anything interesting. So standard equipment. Expeditions will be equipped with the following equipment at all times: inflatable pressurized habitat, a beep, bope, bop recon droid, climbing and belaying gear, flares, rations. And just these notes here about expedition planning, I'm not going to read them all, but some important points. One, when you travel between sectors, it's a big distance, and so it says it's roughly 26 days, and so when that happens, it's a chance for some like light role play. This is all for group games. We'll see how this pans out in solo. NPCs and creatures. The creatures in this game are really, there is a bestiary, but there's no stat lines. Like, this is not a combat game. If there is something that presents a danger, it would have to come down to like a single skill roll, because it just doesn't, the stats don't present the opportunity for that. Or I guess it could add stress, but really this is not about combat. They could die, but when possible, you want to let them prepare. It's good for one-shots or campaigns, and I think as a GM you would know which one you're going for, so you could pace it correctly. And the end game is automatically triggered when there's like a decision to make the last hypothesis. You don't make the hypothesis and then go, okay, we'll keep going, because that sort of puts into effect a bunch of other sequelae. And then at its heart, this is really an eldritch horror game, because it's about, but think about it, you know what, maybe better to think about it as sort of like weird fiction. The encountering of that which is, was it Asimov, like so scientifically advanced that it's indiscernible from magic. So this anomaly is going to do things that will make it seem like impossible things will happen, and we'll have to figure out how to explain that. And this is really what's great about this book too, is just like this flavoring. You really feel like you're reading through like a mission briefing here. Okay, so Jorma is an aerologist. Aerologist? Like aerologist. Would that be of aviation? Sort of. So it's like the study of the upper atmosphere. Essentially, these are scientists who launch a lot of like balloons up to the free atmosphere above the surface layer of the Earth. I guess it's a sort of like, if aerology is to meteorology as ophthalmology is to optometry, maybe? Whatever. He's an aerologist. All right, so in the team folio mechanic, Jorma will get his character made, and then the team will get their folio sheet made. So for him, it's one that's a D10, one that's a D8, one a D6, the rest D4. He's an aerologist. And then starting items, that's a D20. 3. Laser cutter. That works for me. And there's three like getting to know this character questions, but Jorma has started to establish his own personality, so I pretty much know what Jorma is. Just think like Kenny Powers from Eastbound and Down. I mean, look at him. I didn't choose this. I don't know how it happened. So I think really it's like the expedition team. The way to think of this is they're like 3 player characters, but functionally it's like I have 2 player characters. I have like the stats for Jorma, and then I have the stats for my team, and I have to specify like who is attempting things. They have a stress capacity of 4, but they don't take on any anomaly influence. They also don't start with items, but they do get a storage unit to start. And they, if the last stress is marked, one member dies. And so you have to reduce one of the expedition team's max skill die by 1 to a minimum of D4. And then in reducing the skill's current die to match if necessary and clear all stress. After the 3rd death, the expedition team has been wiped out and you are alone. Decide before rolling if it's your scientist or the expedition team taking an action. Collect cards, roll skills, etc. as normal for yourself and the team. There are rolling tables, descriptions, and bits of lore throughout the book. Use them to build your story, explore, learn about this anomaly, and survive long enough to fix it. Okay, so the simplified solo, I think that this pretty much, honestly, it's kind of like the strong hit, weak hit, good, okay, bad. But again, the idea is you just like go from one section to the next. I see, expedition team dossier. So I could, if I really wanted to build them out, give them all like a little bit of a sheet here. Yeah, so this is all just like note taking, which I don't think I would use that too much, whether I was playing or not. This is definitely a game that I would use voice recorder for. This would actually be perfect for it. It'd even sort of stay in character. I don't know if they can use the exosuit, though. Oh, and they can only take 1 deep breath once per session. All right, so we have Wayne is a biologist, Franca is an engineer, and Darl is a hydrologist. We'll see. Those, I mean, the first 2 at least are great. And those names, I came up with them. That's why they're so good. And so my starting item again for Jorma, Professor Jorma, is the laser cutter. All right, I'm just going to do these questions live here. We don't have to write them down, but that way we can. All right, so are they all D20? All right, so Jorma, you're up. My question for you is, what is your greatest fear or phobia? I would say that it started when I was little, and I was at the grocery store with my mother, and she ordered a 1/4 pound of mesquite chicken breast, and I watched the blade cleaving, and my mother, Annabelle Filippo, she kept saying, "Thinner! I want it thinner! Thinly sliced!" And I just kept looking at it and just the cleave. And so basically, my greatest fear is just being sliced like deli meat. I think that's pretty good. All right, next up we have not Darl, Wayne. Wayne, what kind of research have you previously conducted? So Wayne is a biologist. All right, so I'm going to say that Wayne is like, yeah, most of what I'm interested in is like my thing I always wonder is like if you take somebody's like leg off and then if you put it, you know, where the arm's supposed to be, and you know, okay, thanks. Wayne, have you ever done any research? Not on the books. So, but off the books? No, there's no one's really interested in volunteering because I'd have to saw their leg off, and I'm not allowed to say this in front of Professor Jorma because he starts screaming mesquite or something. I'm sorry. All right, that's fine. Let's see. We have Franca. Franca, do you have any notable quirks or habits? Of course. I'm hyperalgesic. I react profoundly to the slightest pain as if it were The worst thing I've ever experienced. I once stubbed my toe at Madison Square Garden, and they had to evacuate entirety of Manhattan. Okay, hopefully you don't get any injuries. And let's see, Darl, what's your opinion on the Substratum expedition?
All right, for me, it's really simple. I'm a hydrologist, which means I love water, and so I'm hoping that on this expedition we find some water because my thing is, and I've been saying this since I was 29 years old, water is all you need to build a water park. All right? Now I'm going to ask you to back up because I don't like people in my personal space.
Darl, I'm like 30 feet away from you.
Everyone has different personal space.
Fair enough. All right, so now we're going to do a world building. 9. What is a known issue with the exosuit design? Well, the exosuit design, let me just say this up top. It's a genius of modern engineering, absolutely. But the one thing is that it's supposed to have a breach sealant that auto-coagulates if there's any fractures to it. And remarkably, this works even in areas you wouldn't expect, like the dome. You would think something that is just spheric glass wouldn't be capable of that, but there are these micro wires that are threaded through it that secrete a sort of modified surfactant and seal up the holes, at least for a while, so that you can return somewhere to get the suit completely repaired. However, this breaks down at the joints. So if there is any damage to the knees, elbows, hips, it's not that it doesn't coagulate, it's that it goes quite slowly. 1. What was the world like before the apocalypse? It was amazing. Before the apocalypse, there was finally, they realized it was historians that finally cracked what was wrong with the world, and it was a historian named Giovanni Labench who discovered that it was called Labench's realization that the global well-being of humankind experienced a precipitous drop at the exact moment that the Pony Express stopped running. And so once they started making ponies run across the desert again, they didn't even have to have riders. People just liked to know that, a little pony named Candy Cane was running across the Nevada desert. And since then, mostly, people have been extremely happy. At first, murders went up, but then there were no clowns, and then they evened out, and then, so we thought we finally, achieved some sort of utopian vision, and then it happened, the event. What was the event, you ask? Well, come closer. The apocalypse. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So, just to review the skill checks, determine the 2 skills, draw 2 cards, roll the current dice of the 2 skills, compare the sum. If the skill check is greater than or equal to both cards, it's good. Does this sound familiar? If it's greater than or equal to 1 card, it's okay. With a complication, does this sound familiar? And if they both fail, it's bad with severe complication. When taking an action, there's a mandatory skill and 1 skill chosen by the player. Players collect the cards they beat and put them into their hand. They can discard cards to power the exosuit abilities. If there are no cards left to construct a deck, all collected cards are discarded. When the card deck runs out, shuffle the discard pile into a fresh deck. We know that. Advantage and disadvantage. Occasionally, a scientist trying to accomplish something may have an upper hand or advantage, either by having a flashback or because mission control determines it makes sense narratively. The opposite is also true. Okay, when rolling with advantage, re-roll the lowest dice. And As a result of their actions, scientists may have to mark stress. If they reach their maximum stress, they are vulnerable. When vulnerable, failing an avoid or confront action results in suit failure and sudden death. Players can mark stress to increase their roll results by 1 for every stress marked. And then we have the deep breath. Deep breath, storage unit. And we talked about overclock. I don't know how much of this I'm going to do, but oh, this is good. With all these actions here, it actually lists like the standard good, okay, bad outcomes for everything. Travel. It takes 26 days to travel between sectors. Scientists can discover shortcuts. Well, there we go. Using the travel action initiates a montage of the expedition team making their way. With the scientists who initiated taking the lead, each player can describe how their travel goes and something that happens. All right, why don't we try that? So we'll do, I'll take the lead. I'll do dash, which I have D6. And since we're using the map, well, it's not a very good roll, but since I am leading the troop here, it would be a D4 for sway, right? Like I'm trying to motivate them, like, come on, team, it's time to march. March, march, march. Everyone's like, is this guy serious? What a loser. All right, so now we're just going to try out this little thing here. I think it's pretty cool, right? All right, so Joker, no thank you. And do a quick yeoman's shuffle. Is that such a thing? And so with a D6 and a D4, oh dear. All right, so hopefully we can get an okay. D6 and D4. Do I have an advantage? Probably not, huh? Oh, all right, let's just do it. Oh, okay. So 6, 2, 8. So I do have an okay result. And it says for travel, the path is difficult, but you make it. Each scientist clears 1 stress. A complication arises on arrival. Worthless because I don't have any stress. And I keep this card, but I discard that one. And I believe that there is, deadly hazards, playing solo. Okay. Yeah, these clues are written upside down. I appreciate that. And I think the last thing is, was there anything that said, okay, so the fracture opening is level 1. We went into the fracture opening. So I can roll on the fracture opening encounters to see with a D12 to see anything along the way. 4, a group of survivors are discovered. They are battered, hungry, and sick. Now, here's a question. Is there any, like, general oracle for me to use here? That would have been a good ad, but you know, why don't we use the tower house here? Use the Newell dice as much as I want to use the Bodhi, and I'm not sure if that's we can use that later. Oh, I've got a the higher of the 2 dice I have to degrade, right, for the skill. So I have to knock it down to 4. That was dash, right? Was the one that yeah. All right, so we're going to use the Newell dice here. And we can look up what it means. All right, so we have a wing and a splotch. Flighty, fearful, and mist, uncertain, neutral. Okay, So this is a group, and we're in our exosuits, and these people, there's 3 of them. One of them is stoned out of his mind. The other 2 seem to be like hugging each other, and it's clear that they're really not doing well, but their hug, it's like, it's too much, you know. It's like adults hugging that emphatically, and so Darl comes, and he's like,
If my hydrology research taught me one thing, it's that no matter where you go, South Pole, North Pole, outer space, or the damn core of the Earth, there's always going to be one thing waiting for you. And I say, what's that, Darl? It's like, hippies.
and so they come and they're like, oh my gosh, thank God you're here. And we're like, what are you doing here? And they're like, which one of us are you talking to? And I'm like, man, what the hell does it matter which one of you I'm talking to? What's your name? It's like, okay, so that's sort of an issue right now, is that previously, before we went on this vision quest, we were all sharing one name. And that name was, where's my letter dice? We were all sharing one name, and it was Ursula. It's like, I'm sorry, what? You said Ursula? Ursula, because it's what's in your heart that's important. Okay, well, Ursula, you do realize that you're in a rift that leads to the molten core of the earth, which already is a real bad place to be. But on top of the fact that the rift down there has opened and there's an anomaly that contains godlike powers, we would not recommend that you be here right now without the proper suit. And honestly, you just need to leave. It's like, okay, we can't because of Ursula. And I'm like, which point? And they point at the one guy who's stoned, and he says, I am no longer Ursula. And I said, okay, well, idiot formerly known as Ursula, can you please leave right now because you're compromising our mission? It's like, no, because I've decided to abdicate internal identity autonomy. I am no longer a person. And Darl's like, what are you, a dog? And I'm like, Darl, that was pretty good, but hold on. I said, listen, you got any supplies? And they got something. I would say they've got oh, my bookmark fell and scared me. What do they got? Well, we could find out after. Yeah. Well, actually, I want to salivate over what they have to imagine getting it. 16. Locator beacon. We have this locator beacon, but we didn't turn it on because we weren't sure what it does. I'm like, you knew it was a locator beacon? Yeah, but we didn't want to, like, I don't know. Ursula other was, and like the woman raised her hand and then quickly puts it back down to like continue hugging Ursula one. It's like Ursula points at her. She brought up a really good point, and that's one of the reasons that I love her and that I care about her and that I functionally am the same as her and that I allow boundaries between us to melt. I'm like, what? Go, what? It's like, well, like, she was worried about roaming charges. At this point, Darl says, boss, law of the sea. I'm like, Darl, what are you talking about, man? Law of the sea. You know what I mean? It's like,
we're underground. It's even better than law of the sea. We can get rid of them, and we can't be tried in any court unless it's our own, because we're the gods of this core. All right, Daryl, I'm gonna do you one of the biggest favors I ever done anyone. I'm gonna pretend that I didn't hear that, because if I think about that too long, I'm gonna start thinking about how I got a horror movie waiting for me in about 5 hours. So there is absolutely no reason to dispatch this tripartite human. Listen, give us the locator beacon, and I tell you what. In exchange, we will point in the direction of the exit. And they confer with each other, and they come back as a trio, and they say, "We accept under one condition. You have to accept for one moment. You have to melt into us and become one of the Ursula." I'm going to pause the video now, and I'm going to roleplay becoming one of the Ursula, but I'm going to lean into it so much that I can't let you see me, because I'll never recover. It's beautiful. We should all be Ursula. All of us. Please be Ursula with me. I think that's enough video for today. I think this is a pretty fun game. The one thing I would say is make sure that you get yourself an oracle, some oracle cards. How about an oracle in a shoe, in a blackjack shoe? I know some of you were jealous because of that. I want to leave on one final note. It is such an important thing that I actually cleared my workspace for it. So I just wanted to do a little PSA, and I know that for most of you this is obvious, and for all of you, my opinion on what you do with your time and your life and your money is none of my business. But I just, in case there's ever any confusion that either comes from legit confusion or from the sort of mystification that happens when you watch somebody on an internet video and they become a sort of like the box that surrounds me gives my my behaviors a more credit or more gravitas than they deserve. I just want to say one thing. You don't have to buy anything that you see on this channel. You don't have to buy anything to solo roleplay. You could do it with a deck of cards, dice, and you could do it with a PDF you print out or don't even print out. Or you can do it with nothing. And there are people in Discord chat rooms all over the world right now, people that have a role-playing game where they have run a cat cafe for, 10 years they've been having it, and they all interact as their characters, and they use no dice, no cards, no anything. And they... and I don't want, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe that's not your version of what's fun. But don't forget that people do that. And so you don't need a lot of different stuff. And that to have as many games and supplements and stuff that I have, it's irregular. Okay? It is not usual. I have it because of two reasons. Number one, I love making videos, and I like making videos about games and stuff that I love, and that also that I sense some people are talking about, should I get it? Is it good? Etc. I hope that my investigation of those things will maybe clarify whether or not somebody wants to make a purchase. I am a hype machine, but that's not in service of anything other than that's how I've been my whole life. And it's a detriment, because I think that sometimes, no, it's a blessing, but it can be a detriment because it can feel like this is, if I get this thing, I'm going to be that excited too. And just remember that
being excited is good, but being happy and being safe and being secure in your finances and everything is better. Okay, it's way more important. And so I just wanted to say that, just to remember that it's not typical, it's not real. The second reason is, if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I would not have as much stuff, but I would have some, because I have carved this out as a priority. I do not have other things that I collect. I don't have 1,000 Funko dolls. I do not have paintings. I do not have different pieces of Scandinavian furniture. Or this is the thing that I do. I do tabletop gaming, and I love it. And to be honest, I don't even reach some of the levels of what people will spend on things. I've never purchased anything for this that like costs $1,000, and there are some people at my FLGS who bid on things every month for thousands of dollars. Okay, and so I'm saying that not to sort of justify my habits or anything like that. Those are mine. I have to justify those with myself and with BB. That's the only people who have to justify that. I want you to know that, so that you don't feel caught up in things. And so, to be with an abundance of clarity, if you don't want to buy something, don't buy it, including stuff that I have affiliate links for, or that I am as a sponsor. I would rather you don't buy those things. Don't even click on them if it's going to make you feel like you want to buy it, okay? Unless you want to. But you don't have to keep up with this. It's not real. This is not how a real collection works. I over purchase things, and to be honest, sometimes I have to limit myself because it does take away from it. You appreciate things less. I think about when I had video games when I was a kid, and I would get one for Christmas and my birthday, and I would play the shit out of those even if they sucked. And I think about how much less I enjoy video games now with like Game Pass and Steam and stuff. Sometimes limiting our ability, even if it's a sort of artificial limitation, makes us love things more. So feel free to live vicariously through me, if that helps, because that's what I used to do when I would like have to cut weight. I was a wrestler, and so when I would like have to cut weight, I would just watch videos of other people eating. But yeah, I mean, not only can that help to sort of exercise that consumer need to get the new thing or whatever, watch me use it, play it through my eyes, but also notice how sometimes you don't need the thing if you have seen me use it, or maybe you need just a little of it and you get the PDF, or you can get whatever. Just take care of yourself, but also, if you are going to be kind to yourself, the flip side of this is you don't have to give a shit what anybody thinks about that. You don't have to justify it to anybody, because there are people who are ready to make you feel bad for everything. They're ready to make you feel bad for spending money, for not spending money, for saving money, for not saving money. But those people don't have to live with whatever choices you make. And to be honest, most of those people are very, very miserable, and their hobby is to make you miserable. There is an epidemic of misery. So if you can grab something that pulls you out of that, even if it's not ideal, yes, we should all be like, begging for alms and washing people's feet and living off the land. We tried, but my life and my priorities are partly the type of life I wanted to live, and then the other part of them is compromises based on the type of life I'm not able to live because of many things about me that you don't know. Things that because of my health, because of choices that I've made, because of stupid things I've done, that I am that I, in another life, I could have prioritized things differently, and I could have been filming myself on my latest yacht right now or whatever. It's not all about money, but I didn't. And so this is the circumscription of aging, is sometimes you have to say, well, I can't be the Genghis Khan of fun and games like I thought I would be, but could I have a little of it sometimes, a little of that good every once in a while? Yeah. And when you do it, enjoy it. But that's all I've got, other than this prismatic radiance dice from Dice Nest. I mean...